On today's episode of Future Says, we have Amogha Srirangarajan, founder and CEO of Carbon Origins. Amogha, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your company.
Yes, Carbon Origins is a robotics company. Our ultimate mission is to make robots commonplace. The big vision is to see robots in every home, robots in the workforce, tackling the boring, dirty, dangerous jobs that people just don't want to do anymore, and unlocking an exciting future where every person alive has a meaningful, exciting job to tackle in their lifetime. Yeah, one shot at life, and we want to make sure that robots unlock a future where everybody has abundant opportunities to pursue whatever they want, because robots are taking care of all the boring stuff.
Wow. So when did you set up the company?
The idea for Carbon Origins came in around 2018, and started tinkering in my bedroom during the pandemic. Built some early prototypes of what is today our product. But officially incorporated the company and launched it in January of 2021.
Okay, so quite a new company then.
hmm
How's the first couple of years been?
First couple of years have been really exciting. It's that early honeymoon phase of any startup company where you're taking the raw ideas that inspired you to start the company and putting it into the real world to see if people agree with your hypotheses. So it's been a lot of product development, testing with early adopters, um, um, proving a lot of hypotheses we started out with, disproving quite a few of them as well along the way. But ultimately, I think we are at a really good spot today. We know what we're doing. We have early adopters using the product in the market, and we're excited to see where this goes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the team. Who's in the company with you?
We're a fairly small team. I met my co-founders over a decade ago in university while we were working on similar projects in robotics and aerospace. Um, uh, Eventually, they ended up in aerospace and deep tech. One of them worked on the Mars Perseverance rover. Another developed satellite constellations to predict weather patterns. But I went into entrepreneurship, and then 10 years later, we all came together to launch Carbon Origins.
Okay. And Carbon Origins is the first startup you've launched, Amogha, or there's been some before?
Yeah, there have been quite a few startup companies that I worked on, some as founder and CEO, and some as an early hire. I did a ton of consulting as well, where I got to work with emerging deep tech companies in VR, robotics, IoT, mobility. So been on product teams that have launched over a dozen different products over the last 10 years. I led three startups as CEO. This is the third one.
What were the first two?
The first one was an aerospace company where we designed, built, and launched suborbital rockets and flight computers for the emerging space industry. This was back in 2014. And then the second company was an augmented reality headset company. Um, yeah, they're both a little bit early. And the third one, of course, is Carbon Origins.
Okay. What's life like as a founder and entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a hard question. Well, it's nothing like you see in the movies, right? It's nothing like what you read in books either. You spend 5 to 10 years becoming an entrepreneur, and then that's when things get exciting, right? You make all your mistakes. You go to the school of hard knocks. You learn from other entrepreneurs. So you can't really learn this in school. You have to learn. The world teaches you how to be an entrepreneur.
Amazing. Okay, so Carbon Origins, startup number 3, all about robots. Why robots? What happened that you thought, this is the one?
Well, as a kid, I've been told I used to be glued to the TV watching documentaries and reruns of, Sojourner landing on Mars. It was one of the first robots humanity ever sent to another planet, and that captured my imagination. And when I was in high school, we had the Spirit and Opportunity rovers that landed on Mars, and to me, that was humanity extending its consciousness to another planet and making breakthrough discoveries every day. Um, how can you not fall in love with that as a kid, right? So yeah, I've had robots on my mind since probably I was 4 or 5 years old. So it was a natural thing to get obsessed about and go after.
Okay, so tell us about some of the projects you're leading at the moment at Carbon Origins, some pilot projects maybe.
Yeah, so our technology converts heavy equipment like excavators, dozers, backhoes, loaders into robots that can be remote operated and automated and trained to do tasks autonomously. We call our hardware upfit kit Carbon. It supports 100 different type of machines. It has cameras, compute, radios. We install. It takes less than a day for us to install it on a machine. And once it's installed and connected to the internet, either over 4G, 5G, or even Starlink, um, uh, operators can control that machine from anywhere on the planet using a VR headset. So we call the software Origins, we call the hardware fit kit Carbon. So once your robot is on the Carbon Origins platform, it can be remote operated by either existing operators in the workforce for our customer or on-demand operators that we're bringing into the workforce. And these operators can work from anywhere. They can be in their home, or they can be in a mobile trailer, mobile office. They can be in a operations center, and all they need is a VR headset. So they put on the VR headset, and they're getting 360-degree visuals, audio, sensor data overlaid around them. It's like they're Iron Man. They're like Tony Stark from Iron Man. It's the most exciting thing to happen in this industry, and they're able to see things that they can't even see through in the cap because of all of the obstructions from the safety pillars and the arm. Our cameras provide this unobstructed zero blind spot cockpit experience for these operators that significantly improves their situational awareness and allows them to safely operate these machines. And while they're operating these machines remotely, they're training AI agents to do some of the repetitive tasks autonomously. So we transition the job of an operator from sitting in a cab to sitting at home, monitoring and controlling multiple machines simultaneously. So imagine a world where you have an operator, she's working from home. She puts on her VR headset in the morning, like 9 a.m., does first shift, controlling excavators in a mine, multiple excavators in a mine, spread across the mine, and then takes a lunch break. And then the next shift, she is monitoring autonomous dozers, coordinating autonomous dozers in a landfill in a completely different state, right? That's an exciting future. And that's what we think will start solving the labor challenges that this industry is facing, attract the next generation of operators.
Okay, what are your biggest target markets kicking off then? Is it mining? Is it construction?
Yeah, so today we look at four major market segments: construction, forestry, mining, and a catch-all hazardous job. So hazardous job would be things like firefighting, waste management, hazardous material handling.
Okay, very interesting. So you're not providing the equipment itself, you're providing the software and hardware that sits on any existing equipment out there in the field, is that right?
That's correct. So we are machine and OEM agnostic.
Okay.
So we support over 100 different type of machines. We can put the kit on the machine in less than a day. We interface with the machine's internal computer, and we essentially make it think that there is a person sitting inside the cab controlling that machine. And we have the software in between now the operator and the machine that can add several more features that don't even exist in the machine, like safety guardrails so they don't tip the machine, or autonomous features that can automate some of the tasks so you can jump between machines.
Wow. So how big is this kit? What does it look like?
It's pretty small, actually. Like you can fit it in everything inside a box like that big.
Okay.
The compute is, compute and radios in like a box that big. It goes on the top of the machine, and has an array of antennas that connected to 4G, 5G towers. and then a base station that has a Starlink cluster. So it doesn't matter where the machine is. It can be in the middle of nowhere, where there's no cellular connection and we're going to Starlink, or it can be in the middle of a city and we're using 5G and 4G as our backhaul for data. And then we have a set of cameras and sensors that are placed strategically around the machine. Um, Depends on what kind of machine and what kind of job it's going into. It's very easy to configure. In fact, we have a configurator that allows the customer to kind of pre-configure the machine before we even start working with them to kind of get an idea for how it's going to look, what are the visuals that they're going to get, how they want to spec out their kit, because it's a universal kit at the end of the day. Almost look at this like, how personal computer PCs back in like the 80s and the 90s completely changed the game for white collar work. We're going to do that for blue collar work.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how quick, if if I owned a construction company and I thought, oh, this is a game changer, I want to work with Carbon Origins, how quick would it be to get everything set up and start working on something together?
You place the order. 3 weeks later, a box comes to your doorstep, and then you schedule an install with us. We'll send out a technician to your facility. It takes less than a day to install the kit, and then we offer a 3-week training program, and that's for operators who are already on staff. We expose them to the different concepts that they have to learn to transition from being a manual operator in the cab to a remote teleoperator. Um, yeah, and then once they're certified, they can start working from home.
Okay, and work from home, then they've got some sort of VR headset. I will admit I've never tried one of these things at home. I
Yeah,
see pictures and videos of people doing crazy things with them. Can
yeah,
you tell us a bit more about VR in general and how helpful that is to your company?
yeah. So robots are spatial computers, if you think about it, right? They're computers that are interacting in the 3D world, um, and interacting in the physical world. And VR is the best spatial interface we have come up with as humanity. So it's the best pairing. It's the ultimate pairing. A robot that's in the physical world interacting with the spatial environment and a spatial interface that allows you to see the world through the robot sensors in 3D, and be present where that robot is. VR is an emerging technology. Apple and Samsung and Meta have been making it mainstream over the last few years, and it's essentially a lightweight pair of goggles with a mobile compute built into it. It connects to Wi-Fi, and instead of consuming two-dimensional content on a small screen, you're in this massive digital environment where there's no screen size limit, and you're consuming 3D content, and it happens to be the best interface to operate robots.
Sure. So your company and software will work with all the different types of VR companies.
Yep, we are hardware agnostic both on the machine side and the operator console side.
Okay.
So you can wear Quest 3, Quest Pro, Quest 2 VR headsets are the most popular ones. Or you can also use some of the more newer ones like the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah.
A lot of these headset companies are trying to bring out less clunky headgear as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're like in the brick phone era of VR, right? You remember those old Nokia phones? That's where we are
I
in
remember them
VR.
fondly, though. I like
Yeah.
playing Snake on
I
those
mean,
phones.
early adopters will remember the clunky VR headsets fondly, but everybody will be glad that they're lighter and more affordable and more powerful than they are today.
So are we moving in the direction of it's just a pair of glasses?
I think we're going to see a couple categories of spatial computing devices, just like we have multiple categories of mobile computing devices. You have tablets, you have phones, you have smartwatches. They're all mobile computing devices, but they're slightly different form factors serving different needs. I think the same will be true for uh, headsets, where you're going to have headsets that are more for in-home or at work type use, indoor use. It might be a little bit larger, has more visual fidelity, more features, and then you're probably going to see devices that look like normal pair of sunglasses
Mm,
or reading glasses that you would use outdoors while just interacting naturally with people. So yeah, I think we're going to see a couple major categories of device type, um, but all kind of serving that spatial computing need that'll arise from the new technologies that are kind of emerging today.
sure. So the company is at the cusp of lots of technologies. I hear it's robots, it's
Yeah,
automation, it's AI, it's sensors and hardware, it's VR. What's the most challenging aspect for the company?
yeah. The way I see it, Carbon Origins is in the intersection of four major revolutions. You have robotics on one side, you have artificial intelligence on one side, you have virtual reality on the other, and then you have work from home. These are like four major revolutions that we're going through today, and we're smack dab in the center of it all, right? In robotics, robots and hardware is one and the same. Like you can't have robots without hardware. And over the last few years, we have seen several key hardware components reach maturity for companies to start building affordable robots, or build like us kits that can convert existing heavy equipment into robots. I'm talking about everything from compute to radios to sensors to cameras. They're all reaching that critical tipping point where it can go mass market. With AI, right? The whole world has been woken up to what AI can do over the last few months, right? We've seen ChatGPT completely change the landscape here. Um, but we also know what AI can't do, right? AI is now kind of transitioning from academia and labs to real world. It's making real world impact, and that's an exciting time to be coupled with hardware getting mature enough where all of this software can run on that hardware and start interacting with the real world in new and exciting ways. And then you have the pandemic, which was a great catalyst for transitioning, uh, you know, acceptance and um, almost expectations around remote work. It's common now. It's okay to work from home, and in fact, people want to work from home. And then you have VR, which enables that. It's a way for you to transport your brain into a completely different environment from wherever you are. You can collaborate with your colleagues, like you are in the same space while sitting at home. You can interact with heavy equipment, machines, robots in a very immersive way. So yeah, being at the center of these four major revolutions and kind of connecting all those dots is what makes Carbon Origins a very unique company. We're we don't think you can just do any one of these things. You have to do all four really well to kind of change the world.
Amazing. So the technology is pretty cool. There's
Yeah.
lots of very interesting tech interfacing with each other here. But what's the business case? You said labor shortages. Is that the business case?
So we're taking this in multiple phases, right? The ultimate goal is one person monitoring a dozen or more machines simultaneously that are doing semi-autonomous or autonomous missions. So you can have construction sites with very few people on the ground and most of the workforce remote. But before we get there, we have these phases that we have to go through, both from um, the industry accepting new technologies like this, but also the technology being proven out and reaching maturity. In phase one, we're focusing on allowing existing operators in the workforce who are skilled and who have developed these techniques in the work at work to transition to remote work. So you could have an excavator operator with 10 plus years of experience digging trenches, who can now work from home across multiple job sites where you have to dig trenches, and train new operators that are coming into the workforce very effectively. Um, and then as they're doing that, they're training AI agents to do some of these repetitive tasks autonomously. So when we start transitioning into phase two, where one operator can automate tasks on one machine and then jump to another machine to automate tasks on that machine and monitor these two machines simultaneously. And once we start building enough automation, task level automation, you start abstracting the operator even more. You start reducing the skill level required for the operator, or you go from an expert to a newcomer operating using these machines at an expert level, right? And we've seen like similarities to this in other industries, right? With computers, you know, all the way back to calculators, right? Like every new technology reduces the skill level required for entering into that market. It speeds up the process, it improves efficiency. And we're going to see things like that early on, force multipliers for existing workforce, and then over time, you know, we're going to transition operators from, you know, playing an instrument in an orchestra to conducting the orchestra, so to
Okay.
speak.
Mm. And you'd mentioned labor shortages. Is that the big why behind this, or the big objective behind this, to eradicate those shortages?
Yeah, because you know the construction, mining, forestry industry, it has an aging population of operators. The next generation of operators don't want to get into these you know, blue collar jobs where you're in a construction site, you know, 8+ hours a day in a machine, you know, being bombarded by sorts of vibrations and bumps, and you know, you might not have air conditioning, so you're working in like 100-degree plus weather, or you have to spend, you know, 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, somewhere in Alaska in a gold mine, away from your family, right? Or you're fighting forest fires, putting your life at risk. Uh, yeah, these are jobs that the next generation of operators don't find exciting to make it their career, and the existing workforce is aging and exiting, and all that knowledge is kind of leaving with them. So what we're doing is um, taking that existing workforce that has all of this amazing knowledge accumulated over the last few decades, and using and capturing that through teleoperation, so we can train AI agents to do some of those high skill tasks, and then reducing the barrier for entry for new operators, making it more exciting, making construction sexy, right? And fun and exciting. So you bring new operators and you pair them with AI agents that are trained on existing operators who have kind of built out the knowledge base on how to use these machines effectively in the real world. And you get augmentation of the workforce. We completely changed the landscape around the labor market for construction. If you kind of like extrapolate that even more, right, with remote work, you can be hiring operators in different states and maybe eventually even from different countries.
Okay. Is there sometimes resistance to change though between the with those operators?
It's a spectrum, right? So you know, we have talked to hundreds of operators. We have dozens of them go through the training and use the platform. Um, so you have a small group of people who, you know, will never put on a VR headset and operate these machines, and that's okay. But a significant portion of people that we have showed the tech to, within the first 4 to 5 minutes of putting on the headset and operating the machine, they're sold. That's the only way they want to do it after that. And that's very compelling for us. In fact, you know, we have an operator on our platform who has 10+ years of experience in mining. He thought he could never work from home. He's living in a world he thought would never exist. Right? Yeah, and that I think is something that a lot of people are going to start feeling.
And so for the future of the company, where do you want to be at the end of 2024? Where do you want to be at the end of 2025? Where do you want to be at the end of 2026?
So the short-term goal is to take the product from beta testing with early adopters to product that anybody can order from anywhere in the world, be it mining companies in Australia or South America, or construction companies in the US or Europe. It doesn't matter. We're going to open it up for general contractors across the world. Today, we're mostly focused on the US market, working with early adopters.
Okay, very good. And the long-term goal, where do you want to be in 2030, let's say, 5 years' time?
Oh, we want to be on the moon. Right, we want to see our tech powering machines mining the moon, building the infrastructure, underlying infrastructure for humanity to become a spacefaring civilization.
I get the sense the moon is your big passion, is
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it? What's happening on the moon these days? What's exciting up there?
Well, the most exciting thing that happened recently was India landing
Yeah.
a rover on the South Pole of the moon. It's never been done before. You get a small period of time before the robot is in darkness, and you got to get all your experiments done while the sun is up, right? Because the moon is tidally locked with Earth, so as the moon goes through its phases, you get one phase of the lunar cycle to get all your experiments done. So it was I was following that very closely. Consuming all of the uh, data and research that was coming out of the mission, still digesting some of it. Yeah, pretty exciting time. And we're going to see more and more companies, startup companies, and countries start going after um, research opportunities on the moon. And if we do this enough, we're going to start unlocking business opportunities. And that's when and I hope that that's when we will intersect with our tech being ready to serve those business opportunities.
Okay, so 2030 carbon origins on the moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exciting. I
That'll be
wish you the
pretty
best of luck, Amogha.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.